Welcome and thank you for tuning into the 412 Double Play podcast. A rough series in Texas, but back home for Hall of Fame weekend went mostly well. One exception at least. Talking about all that and more today, but I am as always your host, Michael Castrogano, back from vacation, ready to talk Bucks ball. Joining me this week as co-host and Double Play partner, my brother Steve Castrogano. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Feel like I'm recovering from vacation. You kind of need like a little static period of time to get back into the groove of things. But it's been a minute since you've been on. Ed's going to be out for a little bit. He's indefinitely working Sunday nights, so it's going to make it difficult to record. But Steve, at least for this week, is going to be able to jump on and talk about some stuff going on with the Pirates. So let's start off with transactions, because we had a couple this past week. We've had a number of injuries. Starting on Monday, Ke'Bryan Hayes placed on the injured list for lower back inflammation. It's probably 2 months later than it should have been, but, okay. The team also DFA'd pitcher Ryder Ryan. They recalled reliever Hunter Stratton from Indy and selected the contract of outfielder Billy McKinney. They also had Joshua Palacios. He was activated from the IL and optioned to Indy. Ryder Ryan later cleared waivers. He was sent outright to Indy. And then yesterday, Saturday, after slipping while trying to get a ball, following a wild pitch, a whole sequence of events, the Saturday game we'll talk about, Hunter Stratton reportedly ruptured his left patella tendon and most likely will require surgery per Ben Cherington. So his season is done. He's placed on the 60-day with lefty pitcher Brady Feigl selected from Indy to take his place. I've seen the name so many times. I'm not 100% how to say it. Feigl. I tuned in just too late for them talking about it on the game today. Also, first inning today, Joey Bart was removed due to left hamstring discomfort, running out a ground ball in the first inning. Andrew Destin of the Post-Gazette, friend of the show, posted that he's going to be placed on the injured list, and Henry Davis is slated to be recalled to replace him on the roster ahead of the Cubs series. So not great that Bart's out. He has been a really big part of the offense. Davis has been doing well in Indy. Hopefully he can figure out a way to make that transition to Pittsburgh, because thus far it hasn't been working for him. Steve, your thoughts on these moves? Stratton, obviously he was in the minors for a while, but he's been pretty good in the bullpen at times. And then Hayes with his back.
This is the third time Hayes has had back issues. I think that's
the back issues. They never go away. It's just constant. He's even said there's been nothing that has helped it. Reportedly, there are some options that may help, but he's done yoga, acupuncture, different. I personally think maybe it's too much in the weight room. The guy puts on 30 pounds of muscle, that's going to affect your back. He's a little guy. He's 5'10". He's shorter than me technically.
Oh yeah, but that's so short. Can't imagine.
But yeah, and the Ryder, not the Ryder Ryan. Sorry, Hunter Stratton. That injury, that looked rough.
That was bad. I don't know what was going on with the field this weekend. Skeens almost wiped out going to cover first base on the first game.
Yeah.
So
yes, his thing got stuck right before it.
Or what? But yeah, that was rough.
The water's not draining well. Bart, I'm not sure exactly what happened. Because it was it kind of looked like maybe on the swing, the first step, it's possible it happened, but hopefully it's not a severe thing and he's back at some point. But it looks like it's going to be Davis-Grandal tandem.
Yeah, I'm happy for Davis getting the opportunity to come back up, seeing what he can do. Like you said, he's been doing really well at AAA. Hopefully that transfers over this time, because obviously there's big expectations for him. But sad to see Bart go down. He was really a big win getting him when we did. So wish him the
Yeah.
best, and Davis the best as well.
Yeah, Davis in the at Indy this season, 224 at bats, 299 batting average, 13 home runs, and a 936 OPS. He could come close to that. Like all through the minors, he's shown the ability to hit. He just needs to make that jump. Just got to figure it out. The only thing with Hayes being on the IL, and again, overdue, he's clearly hasn't had the kind of power that we expect. I had him coming in this season and having a 2020 season. Right now, Cruz seems like he's going to, for all the crap that fans give him. He's been one of, if not the best offensive performers. Defensively, yeah, he's going to have some errors because he's at shortstop and he's got a wild arm, but he also gets the balls that other guys aren't going to get to. I think he's about even defensively, and the offense is plus.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the kind of comments I hear during the game or see on social media about
him getting
he's not the problem. Look at the bottom of the lineup today, and you see
he's
what these guys are doing. Taylor and not today, but Bay, Triolo. It's rough when that's the 7, 8, 9 in your lineup, and you're like, okay, well, that's 3 straight outs most nights.
We almost saw Bay because of Grandel's, walk off. We did not see Bay. I saw he was on deck. I was like, oh. But yeah, I don't. I love Cruz being. He's getting more aggressive down the stretch, which he should be because he's got the speed, he's got the range. I could see fans being upset because he almost got picked off, and they reviewed it and left him as safe, and then they immediately pitch over and he gets picked off easily. So he definitely needs to be more aware, but that's going to happen. It's the cost of it. I mean, De La Cruz got picked off 2 or 3 times in the series too, and he's one of the best base stealers. It's
he's got like 60, 70 stolen bases.
Trying to make that.
Yeah. No, he's been caught stealing. Okay, counting the pickoff,
I think he's been
caught stealing twice. Yeah. So he had 3, 4. He's had 4 stolen bases just in the past week. So he's at 18 home runs, and I want to say he's at 18 stolen bases, 17 stolen bases.
17.
So, but yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's get into the weekly recap because we had the 3 games in Texas and then back home to host the rival Reds starting the week in Arlington. Luis Ortiz on the bump. Corey Seager had his number. Solo home run in the first, 3-run shot in the third. It was the 3rd or 4th straight time that Ortiz was out and really just was not hitting his spots. The cutter's been getting hit hard. He did strike out 10 Rangers batters, so he kind of started to figure it out a bit more, and that parlayed into today. Obviously, we'll talk about that in a sec. Top of the 4th, Jared Triolo. I know I was mentioning him before. He hits a 3-run shot. He went on a bit of a heater early last week, but the team wasn't able to get another run. They dropped that first game 4-3. Game 2, Mitch Keller starting, locked in 7 shutout innings, 3 hits, no walks, 9 strikeouts. O'Neal Cruz, 2 hits. Brian De La Cruz drove in 2 runs as the Bucks won 4-0. And then rubber match on Wednesday was a game we really should have won. Domingo Germán starting for the Pirates. He had some control issues, but he was able to miss bats, get soft enough contact when they did hit. 6 innings, 3 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, no runs allowed. Pirates left the bases loaded at least 2 times. I think it was the 2nd and 4th inning, 2nd and 5th, something like that. They left 10 runners on base in total, went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, and the Rangers ended up walking it off against Bednar in the 9th, an RBI single by Wyatt Langford for a 1-0 Texas win. Back home for a 4-game set against the Reds, Paul Skeens going Thursday, and he looked back to himself. He hit 100 at least once, had 6 shutout frames, 2 hits, only 1 walk. The walks were a problem his last time out. I think he had 4 walks for the first time in his career. 9 strikeouts. There's only 87 pitches through those 6 innings, his second fewest of the season. But there was a 6-run 5th inning. The Bucks were up 7-0 at the time. Fine going to the bullpen. 3-hit game by De La Cruz as the Pirates won 7-0. Friday, Bailey Falter started, gave up 5 runs in the first 4 innings, but the Bucks battled back. They played it 4 in the 5th, 2 more in the 6th, as they held on for a 6-5 win. And then Saturday, with Jim Leland, Barry Bonds, and Manny in the house for the Hall of Fame festivities, the team just could not figure things out. Jake Woodford was either wild or tossing meatballs to get crushed. Defense was a mess. Wild pitches, the injury to Stratton that we mentioned earlier. The game was a bit of a disaster as the Bucks lost 10-2. We did see Rowdy hit a homer that bounced into the river. He is one of 3 players all time to have hit a ball into the river against and for the Pirates. The others being Matt Stairs and Darrell Ward, I want to say. Pretty sure those were the other 2. I hate being wrong on my trivia stuff, but I'm almost positive those are the 2. And he also pitched
in a position to call you out, but
yeah, he also pitched a clean inning in relief in that blowout. And then today, Luis Ortiz dealing. He hit 2 of the first 3 batters he faced in the first inning, but then settled in. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, the 2 hit by pitch, 5 strikeouts. The Bucks plated 1 in that Bart RBI groundout where he was injured, running to first, and then added another with a Reynolds RBI single in the 3rd. The Reds came back against the bullpen. Jalen Beeks was really wild. The bunt that he wasn't able to field, walking with the bases loaded. They managed to plate 3 in the 7th, set up for a dramatic 1-out, 2-run walk-off home run from one of the least likely places, Yasmani Grandal, as the Bucks walked it off, 4-3 win and a 3-1 series victory. Steve, you actually got to watch the game today, a rare one that you're able to tune in for. What percent of you was expecting Grandal to come through with even a hit in that situation?
He has definitely had some clutch hits. His average is probably sitting at what, 200. He doesn't get a lot of hits. I don't know if you saw the replay of the game. He was amped up for that. Like he was out of the box. He tore his shirt off. He was, after he hit that home run, he was big. So that was pretty energizing. Definitely excited to see that. Was not necessarily expecting it. I think that game, to me, I feel like taking Nicholas out so quickly, that felt like a time when the game was just going to completely go downhill. So I was glad Santana was able to kind of quiet that game down, and then Chapman coming out and Grandal getting that walk-off home run. That was a very exciting game. Would have liked to have seen that happen on Saturday with the Manny and Leland and Barry Bonds there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but so Chapman has been Beeks. I don't really understand going to Beeks. I really thought they would have gone with Chapman in that situation, but especially Nicholas, it was a ground ball that just got past IKF, and then like a single that managed to turn into a double, basically. I think. So I was surprised that they pulled him after that.
Pretty well hard hit, but yeah, we're trusting him to be high leverage. Right now, he's the 3rd best relief pitcher on our team, behind Chapman and Rowdy Tellez, obviously.
Of course,
so I think you got to trust him in that situation.
Yeah. So I was surprised on that. Chapman, because he's been so good this season, and wholly unlikely that it happens. Do you think the Pirates should try to re-sign him for 2025?
Yes, I think they should, but I would hope they don't do it with the expectation that he's going to be like the everyday reliever. I want to see the focus put on let's fix Bednar, let's fix Holderman, and let's keep Chapman around because he is an extremely valuable asset to getting those two guys right again. Because I don't, I'd worry the idea of, oh, we're bringing in Chapman for one more year as our, five, which we should be with all the young talent we've got. So, yeah.
I mean, I would have Chapman as like a safeguard. Like, okay, if Bednar and Holderman don't get past what's the problem this year, at least we've got Chapman who can save games and can strike out everybody he faces. Because he's just dominant.
Strike him out or walk him. One or the other.
I mean, whatever. It's the thing I liked about
he's been lights out the past.
No, he's been so good. Last time he gave up a run, I'll look at his game log. August 2nd. He's had 9 consecutive scoreless outings, and he's only given up 3 hits in that time. And struck out so many. The thing I like today, and this is the last one, and then we'll go to the next topic, is Alexis Diaz, who brother of Edwin Diaz, who famously pointed to the sky when Jacob Stallings hit a walk-off home run against the Mets back in like 2020 or something like that. And Diaz started to do the same thing. He pointed up like, oh, it's a fly ball, someone get it. And then nobody got it. And I loved it. All right, well, let's go ahead and look down on the farm. Busy week. The teams overall didn't do so great, but some activity, obviously, here. Indy on the road at the Columbus Clippers. The Indians dropped 4 of 6 this week. Jack Sawinski, he's finally hitting well. 2 homers this week, team best 1.146 OPS, while Nick York went 9 for 21, 5 RBI, 2 stolen bases. Jared Jones' final rehab start. He's supposed to be back on Tuesday. They haven't officially announced it, but he should be starting the Tuesday game of the Cubs series. He had 5 shutout innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts in his appearance with the Indians. Indy drops to a 59-63 record. Thomas Harrington had 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 0 walks, and 6 strikeouts. He's continuing to excel. Bubba Chandler had another great start. He gave up 3 runs in the first inning, but then settled down for, I think, like 4 or 5 more innings after that where he didn't give up a run. So a lot of fun stuff going on in Indy finally. Altoona at the Richmond Flying Squirrels. The Curve dropped 4 of 6 to the pesky Road Rodents. Yoiner Fajardo continues to hit since returning to the Pirates organization. He batted .364 with a .988 OPS on the week, 2 walks to 1 strikeout. Dominic Parachi, 2023 draft pick, I think out of Rhode Island. He had a strong start on the week. He posted 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run allowed, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. The Curve fall to 49-71 this season. Greensboro hosting the Asheville Taurus. The Hoppers won 4 of 6 over the rival Taurus. Omar Alfonso, Termarr Johnson, and Mitch Jebb combined for 19 hits, 8 walks, 9 stolen bases, while Carson Reed had probably his best professional start. 6 shutout innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, as Greensboro boosts their record on the season to 67-51. And finally, Bradenton at the Lakeland Flying Tigers. The Marauders split their series 3-3. Deuce Gorson, 2024 draft pick, he posted a .417, .611, .583 triple slash to lead the offense, while Carlos Jimenez went 5 innings with 2 hits, 2 unearned runs in his start this week. I love my Carlos Jimenez, as the Marauders are now 48-66 on the year. And, of course, it was announced today that Termarr Johnson finally promoted from Greensboro to Altoona. He posted a .238 batting average with the Hoppers this year with a 757 OPS and 13 home runs. So in some ways it feels like it's long overdue, but at the same time, he has not been as productive as I think the team expected. But Steve, your thoughts on what's happening with the minor leagues? Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. It did feel like that was a bit overdue, but every player, like with Jamar Johnson, every player's got to develop at their own rate. So as long as they're handling it correctly, that's all that matters. The guy's going to be a talent. The Bubba Chandler, I was very excited to see him get bumped up to Indy. Like you said, gave up 3 runs in the first inning, but those are his only runs across 3 starts. So that is a very good showing for him so far in Indy. Definitely excited to see what he can do because obviously we got to see him and he has got the stuff.
Oh yeah, we went to see him.
Would like to see him stay as kind of a 2-way player, but now that he's focused just on pitching, he's definitely taking off a lot better.
Yeah, it's clearly the better route for him. And we got to see him on the Skeen Stash giveaway in Altoona, and he 5 no-hit innings. And he's done that several times this season, where he's had like several no-hit innings, and then they just kind of have to pull him. So that, yeah, Chandler's awesome. Johnson, again, he still has not faced a pitcher even 1 day older than him. And going to Altoona, that's going to be much less likely to happen now. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's
1 day younger than him.
Right, they're all older than him. no one younger than him. Apologies for the misspeaking there. Yeah, Greensboro because they won the first half title, so they're already slated for postseason. Indianapolis has an outside chance to make it, but most likely some of those guys like York, possibly Sawinski, if he's has like a long stretch here of success, are up with the team next month, because I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, moving past that, let's go into the special for the day, because this week's special is the rotational battles ahead. With Jones returning to the rotation, it's got me thinking about 2025. Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, they have been incredible this season and seem to have clearly secured 3 of those 5 spots on the 2025 staff, but the final 2 will be a competitive race. I'll start right off and say Jake Woodford and Domingo Germán likely are not and should not be top contenders for these spots. I'll admit that Woodford had some bad luck early on in his Pirates tenure, but his ERA is now over 8. And before we claimed him, he was released by the White Sox. So it's not really the kind of talent that you should be pursuing. And while Germán has shown flashes of excellence, the baggage coupled with some wildness exhibited so far makes him an easy pass for me. So who should be under consideration for these spots? Starting off, Luis Ortiz. After his cup of coffee in 2022, Ortiz was penciled in by many as a future ace of this rotation. Now, last season didn't go quite as he hoped, or any of us fans hoped, but his time in the bullpen this year paid dividends, and he has continued posting strong results in the rotation. Have those up here, as he has a 3.36 ERA on the season in 107 innings pitched. Definitely some kind of back rotational stuff that you would take any day of the week. The second one, another guy who's currently in the rotation, Bailey Falter. It's the only lefty on the list. He's got one of the biggest extensions in baseball, and when he's hitting corners, able to utilize that, he's very good. He had a crazy stretch of games earlier this season where he made 10 starts, 60.1 innings, and had a 2.54 ERA in that span. Granted, the peripherals indicated that he would regress, and he did, but he's a lefty at PNC, and he can find success at times. If he's your 5, it's not the worst 5 we've ever had by a long stretch. Next up, some lesser remembered, thought of names here. Johan Oviedo, he's been on the shelf recovering from Tommy John, but he likely will be ready some point in spring training, maybe a delayed start to next season. He was a big part of that rotation last year. 6 times he went 7 or more innings with 1 or fewer runs allowed. And I think he was like one of the biggest innings workload and one of the most strikeouts, highest strikeout rates in baseball last year. So if he can come back, again, you're looking at your 4 or 5, someone who could eat innings. Oviedo potentially could be that guy. Another guy recovering from Tommy John, Mike Burrows. He was on track to debut with the Bucs last year before an early season injury led to his own Tommy John surgery. He's back with Indy now, and although he's had some rough outings, some hiccups here and there, he's starting to round back into form. 4 innings of 1-run ball last week, 5 shutout frames during his start on August 8th. Starting to see some of that magic. He's got a really big curveball that I've been a fan of for a number of years. Another one who's currently on the 40-man and has had some injury issues of his own, Braxton Ashcraft. He was added to that 40-man this past offseason, and he's after soaring through the minors. Last year, coming back from his own Tommy John, bit of a trend here. He's getting some notice nationally as he appeared on several top 100 prospect lists this year. But as I said, injuries continue to be a problem for Ashcraft. He hasn't pitched since July 6th, but when he's pitching, his stuff is filthy. He's basically borderline unhittable. 2.88 ERA in 15 games, 72 total innings pitched this year with 76 strikeouts. Next up, Thomas Harrington. He had a delayed start to the season due to injury in spring training, but he continues to exceed expectations with plus control and strikeout stuff. Definitely looks like a mid-rotation arm at the major leagues. He's got a 2.38 ERA between AA Altoona and AAA Indianapolis. 18 games, 94.2 innings, 94.2 innings, 94 strikeouts, and a sub-1 whip, 0.92. That's the kind of stuff you want to see from these prospects, keeping that control there. And then finally, Bubba Chandler, biggest pitching prospect for the Pirates, verging on being one of the biggest pitching prospects in all of baseball. He had a 6-game stretch this summer in Altoona where he posted a 1.80 ERA over 35 innings with just 3 walks and 44 strikeouts in that span. The kid is poised to be a major part of the future, whether it's in 2025 or further down the road. Definitely something that you want to keep an eye on. And then finally, a free agent. There's plenty of names, both big and small, that are going to be available in free agency this upcoming offseason. Pirates are most likely going to get a soft-tossing lefty. They do it every year for Charrington. Add steps to the pitching. I'm not going to go into that until this offseason. But, Steve, do you have a preference on these prospects, adding a free agent, pending health? Who among this group starts the season in the rotation with that big 3?
I mean, this is probably just recency bias, but I feel like Ortiz has really earned a chance to be in that starting rotation. Like he got moved to the bullpen. He handled it with great maturity. He did really well there to start the season. When we needed him to step back in, he stepped back into the starting rotation. He's done really well. You know, a couple games, not so great, but overall, really great numbers. So I would like to see him given the shot. I mean, so he's back and healthy. You know, maybe Ortiz starts the season as that 4 or 5 guy, and then Oviedo or Burrows, or hopefully Chandler at some point next season. But I imagine that'll be later. Come in and take the spot, and then Ortiz being the guy that he is, fine moving to the bullpen, coming back in for spot starts. But I think you need to have a lefty, and I would like somebody a little bit better than Falter. I'm not against Falter being, a 4 or 5 guy because we do have so much other talent, but I don't want to say the same thing we said the last 2 years of it'd be great if we go out and get a veteran lefty starting pitcher who actually stays around past the All-Star break. But boy, it'd be great if we get a veteran lefty pitcher who would stay around past the All-Star break.
Patrick Corbin, is he a lefty?
I wouldn't mind
Patrick
Falter
Corbin's going to
being
be
there.
available.
I don't know.
There's a couple. Again, we'll talk about it. I'm sure I'll have a postseason episode about it.
The offseason, yeah. We'll see when we get there. I think definitely Ortiz has to be on top of that list for everything he's done this season.
Yeah, and Ortiz, and I don't know if these numbers include today's game, he actually has a lower OPS against as a starter than as a reliever. He has a 656 OPS as a starter and a 691 in relief. And it's about the same, exactly the same amount of at-bats.
Yeah, those first couple games when he came, it was just amazing to see.
All right, I'm back. Can you see me? Accidentally hit my...
I was like, I thought my connection went out. I was like, what's going on? I'll just stand here and smile until something happens again.
Whatever. I'll just leave it in. I don't disagree. I think Luis Ortiz is he's earned it. I just also think Johan Oviedo, and he's probably going to have like an innings limit. I think that you put him as the 5, and then you know that he's probably going to have to get shut down or limited down the stretch, and that's when you have Chandler or Harrington or Burrows maybe have to come in because he's or Ashcraft. Yeah, the first couple months. I do think they're going to probably have to sign someone in free agency or make a trade, but I mean more likely just free agent signing there. So we'll see. I mean, we got a couple months still on that, and we got a little over a month left in the season. Let's talk about that next week in games, because we've got 3 games at home versus the Cubs, a day off, and then travel to Cleveland. Long drive there, a long flight to face the Guardians. The Cubs series, we got familiar face Jameson Taillon going against Mitch Keller. Game 2 has lefty Justin Steele facing presumably Jared Jones. And then in Game 3, we've got Kyle Hendricks going against Paul Skeens. I mean, these are the kind of matchups that you want. These are some great matchups overall. I mean, the parity between Hendricks, who's like the slowest and lowest velocity in MLB, versus Skeens, who is by far the hardest thrower in any rotation, is funny. But how are you feeling about those matchups? The Cubs have been on a bit of a heater lately.
Yeah, I definitely like the matchups. Like you said, I am and Skeens versus Hendricks. I like our chances. I think my internet's being a little having some issues here. Has there been somebody announced for the second game?
Not officially. It's Charrington said.
I didn't think you said somebody, but I was like, did I miss something? No.
Presumably it's Jared Jones, because it would line up and he's just expected to start that. I don't believe that there is yet a starter announced. Yeah, it still says TBD online, but from what it seems to be, it's going to be Jared Jones.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be Jared Jones.
That's a really good. Yeah.
You got to hope for at least a series win there. It'd be fun if we can go in and sweep them. I mean, Taillon, I don't know how he's been doing this season, but he has not been great as of late. 3.77 ERA, 126.2 innings. Better than I thought.
I mean, he's not as lights out as he has been, but he's still pretty good.
Yeah. Steele, 3.07 ERA and 123 innings. This might be tough. It's going to be a tough series. Let's hopefully get a win there. And then 3 games in Cleveland against the Guardians, who, again, one of the better teams in baseball. They've got now a 3-game lead in the AL Central, which I know it's the AL Central, but they're 20 games over 500. We've got projected Bailey Falter going up against Ben Lively, Jake Woodford versus Matthew Boyd, and then Luis Ortiz versus Alex Cobb, if these matchups hold. Boyd being a lefty, I think breaks that up a little bit. Overall, I don't think I'm too intimidated by either Cobb or Lively. I guess I don't really know too much about either of them. But what are your thoughts on Cleveland?
I thought Ortiz was on the mound for the. Yeah, I don't feel too good about that. So yeah, my notes. I thought Ortiz was going that second game. I'd feel a lot better than him instead of Woodford, but.
I think that's just like projected, but so it might be. These are very much subject to change because this stuff is based from what I saw.
And then
yeah, we're getting a little bit of internet issues here, but Ortiz might go on Saturday. I think they're probably assuming that it would be a temporary 6-man rotation with Jones being added in, but it's also possible they just kind of nix Woodford from there because why not? It would still keep an extra day at least for that round to get some rest for Skeens.
I would.
But then the next day off's not going to be until September 12th. So maybe they will keep a 6-man rotation for a bit. So hopefully we've got a couple of series. They're going to be hopefully competitive. I think that's the thing that you want to look at here. Got some good pitching matchups on a really tough Cleveland team.
Yep.
So we're definitely going to be looking forward to that. But that wraps it up for this week's episode of the 412 Double Play podcast. You can follow me on the socials at 412 Double Play. Steve's on X at Steven Castrig N. If you're watching on YouTube, you see that it's listed there. If not, it's going to be in the comments or in the, I guess, informational thing, whatever that is. Check out SealCity.com for all your news and updates about Pirates from myself and fellow Pirates contributors. Link, as always, in the description as well. Follow the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else podcasts are found. Thank you for joining us this week. Hopefully, good week ahead, and let's go Bucks. On to you, Sawyer.
Let's go Bucks.
Lady Jolly Roger, dude.
Thanks.